It's nighttime in the rural Midwest. The Cowboys of Kool Valley are back in town, and they're ready to boogie. Saddle up, whistle britches.
Out of the bowels of the earth and the belly of the beast, through the fire and smoke and brimstone of hell itself, the music industry, comes a new company with women and men who wish to change that which has been happening since time began.
Leave the worries for a while. I'll still be there when you get back.
I'm just a free bird, totally free, and happy still to be with my crew and leeward.
Welcome back to another edition of Cowboys of Kool Valley. This episode revolves around the 2004 album Magic Wand by Little Wings. You know Little Wings, they do the theme song for this show. The band's sole constant member and friend to the world, Kyle Field, has been ever present in the wilderness of the independent music world since the late 90s. My pals and I have been following his music for 20 years. I raised my son on Little Wings. Kyle brings infinite joy to those who follow his music from each record, book, or tape to the next one. Magic Wand is a special album for Little Wings. There's a whole pile of special albums born from this project, but this one has always stood out to me with its introspective, free-spirited, and meandering songs. The joy and melancholy of being so free bears itself in the opening lines of the record. Tonight we've got Kyle on the phone for a while to talk about how the album came to fruition, while I do my best not to be my over-complimentary self. Ready? Let's shoot this fucker.
Hi, Nick. Are we rolling?
Yeah. Sorry I missed you.
I was calling you just to test before I wasted our time to make sure my headphones worked, and then I just called a friend instead.
Oh,
And
okay.
then-
Yeah, I already had my phone set up on silent, and I went to grab your record in the other room, and I remembered that art book that you did, and the Put It in a Nutshell. And so
yeah.
I was studying, and I missed you.
You have a Put It in a Nutshell?
I do.
Put It in a Nutshell? Cool.
Yeah. I really love that stuff a lot.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, the elephant
much.
one especially. I'm a fan of elephants anyway.
Oh, wait, I don't know if I remember the elephant one.
It's boy, I can't remember the name of it. It's got an odd name to it. But
Oh, wait, is there a drawing of an elephant in
yes.
Put It
Yes.
in a Nutshell? Okay, cool.
In fact, I think when you open the cover, the title page is that elephant kind of
Oh,
zoomed
interesting.
in. Yeah.
I irresponsibly, I think I don't have a copy of that book myself, but so I could, or else I'd flip it open and tell you what that was.
Yeah.
But I was drawing my hands off in those days. Like I was drawing every day, and so there's a lot of drawings I probably forget.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because that book really kind of focuses in on like just 04 to 06, something like that. And
I think that's probably right.
there's a bunch of work in there.
It was kind of like Robert Pollard's suitcase project or whatever, where they excavated all this stuff, because it kind of, I had barely had any exposure in my adult life at that point, like of my visual art, other than whatever I did related to music, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this guy, A. Hornfelder, who put out that book, I think he started asking for scans that he wanted to do a book, and then I just had like a portfolio full of drawings, and so I think I bought a scanner to do that book, maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad that it exists. I think there needs to be more volumes of that stuff.
I know. I have a bunch of thanks. I have a bunch of scans, and I am loosely planning to make another book at some point. So yeah.
Did you keep that tour diary? like
No,
I
I
recommended?
was thinking about it. The only person I know who still does a tour diary would be Mike Watt, and
Yeah.
I was on the tour, and I'm always impressed that people can do anything else on a tour besides
You know,
just,
honestly, yeah. I
yeah.
agree.
So I was thinking about it on day 3, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't agree to do a tour diary. Like, it's not in me. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but it's just not in me to do extra.
Yeah.
I feel like my hands are so full playing every night. So hats off to people who can report what they ate for breakfast that day and
Right.
how long the drive was and all that stuff. But to me, exhausting. Sounds completely exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so I'll let's see. I'll get started here officially.
Cool. I was getting tuned up for this. I was thinking back and thinking of some things that I wanted to talk about, and hopefully I'll remember. Yeah.
Great.
So thanks for having me on board for this.
Yeah, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, of course.
This one's kind of a dream project of mine because, you know, I kind of grew up to this album when I was in my early 20s, you know? It's one of those
Yeah.
that matured with me, you know?
Oh,
So
cool. How old were you in 2004?
I was 19.
Cool.
Yeah, 19. Yeah, everything was changing all the time, you know, and especially emotionally. And I had come across you from the Wise Old Little Boy DVD, and this was the newest record out. After I had seen that, I had to hear it, you know. And I got a hold of this one, and you know, other friends gravitated towards Light Green Leaves and the earlier stuff, you know. But I've always been a wistful kind of guy, and this is more of a wistful record.
For sure. For sure.
So yeah, I guess I bonded pretty hard with it, and so this has been like something I always intended on asking you to do, and finally this podcast thing happened. So
hopefully I can be useful.
Yeah. So here's a starting point. What was 2004 Kyle like compared to 1999 Kyle, who started the first Little Wings record?
Right. Well, I think it was actually 1998, but was when The Wonder City came out.
Oh, okay.
Or you know what? Actually, yeah, it did come out. It came out on CDR in 1998. So I always think of 98 because I recorded it in New York City, and then I had a little record label at the time, and I think we made 100 CDRs. Maybe we made 200, but I got these postcards in New York City. I bought 100 of them at a souvenir store there that said "Greetings from New York, the Wonder City," and that's where I got the title of the first Little Wings album, was just off of that postcard. And so, how was they were? Gosh, I was fairly different, but not wholly different. I guess by 2004, I had a few albums made, and I was feeling like a senior in high school.
Yeah.
Versus The Wonder City, I was probably feeling like a freshman in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1998, I was definitely probably yet to see if there would be an audience at all for this music. And by 2004, I felt like there was something like an audience for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a different feeling that I had wanted probably for a while. and by 2004, I'd moved to the Northwest, sort of because of the music scene up there seemed a lot better than where I was living in San Luis Obispo at the time. Grass is always greener style possibly as well, but there were also so many record labels up there, so I was kind of going up there to figure out if I could find a record label that had some sort of reach to get the word out. And so Magic Wand was the first record I made in California once I had gone to the Northwest and decided I didn't need to live there anymore. And then I moved back to California where I kind of felt like I belonged more, but I felt like I was kind of armed with a platform that I had kind of secured by relocating up there. And so it felt exciting because I could make an album in and sort of more about the place or places that I felt in line with or in harmony with. And I knew that someone would release it. So I felt like an author who had a publisher or something. And that was a cool feeling.
Yeah.
A new feeling. Yeah.
So did the writing begin after you had moved back to California?
I think for the most part, yes. But I think maybe one song being Laugh Now was written at some point, maybe in 2003, and it appeared on an album called Harvest Joy, like a different version of it.
Yeah.
And and that was a kind of loose affair. That recording and that record, it was just me overdubbing with myself at my friend Matt Remine's ranch out in Port Angeles, Washington. And at the end of, I'm trying to think exactly when that was. It was like after a bunch of touring, and maybe I think it was after I had done this huge 9-week U.S. tour with Calvin Johnson, and then the chronology is not quite there. But anyway, it was written while on the go, I feel, when I kind of wasn't living anywhere, but that's the only song I feel that was carried over from the past, and I wanted to re-record it. And I thought we had learned it, maybe we had learned it live, and this song kind of evolved past the Harvest Joy version, and then I thought it would really fit on Magic Wand. And I think I knew that some country artists had done that before, like put the same song on different records or something, you know? And so I felt free to do that, and with a better recording and with a full band instead of it being kind of a minimal, version. But yeah, the rest of the songs I would say were written in San Luis Obispo because I moved back to San Luis Obispo, which was probably like I think that was the third or fourth time I had moved back to San Luis Obispo, and the last time I would live there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot there's a lot going on underneath this record. It kind of makes sense why it's so dense and it feels introspective to me. Were you in an introspective mood at the time?
For sure. I think part of the reason for that may have been after I did that really long tour where I think we had several nights off, but not many. And so we were basically, and I was playing by myself on that trip, and so was Calvin. And so we were basically played a show every night for 9 weeks or something.
Wow.
And I don't know how many shows that is, but it was a lot of shows. And I had made more money than I'd ever made in my life, which isn't saying much, but I naively thought, like, I'll never work again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm set, you know? And but at the same time, I felt really burned out, and like I was really tired of performing, and I was like, I wonder how long it takes to want to play a show again. And so I think it was it was inward, trying to figure some things out, and also I kind of, in some sense, I had always loved like later Beach Boys records when Brian Wilson, quote, went crazy or something.
Yeah.
And I thought I was relating in my own way to that. Like it was like he didn't like touring anymore. He just wanted to stay home and make music. And that's kind of how I was feeling. And I think I was making songs that expressed that, and that I didn't need to ever think about playing them for anyone, that I could just make this recording maybe.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't thinking about performing these songs as much as maybe in the past, I guess.
Very freeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
While we're still working the background of it,
Yeah.
I have my best friend had, still kind of has in his family, a little white Nissan truck, kind of like that little white Toyota that you were driving around that time.
Yeah.
How long did you have that thing for?
Well, let me think here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think I'm on my 4th little white Toyota now.
Wow, you still have one?
I do. That's my main rig. And I had my brother's, I think his was an 88 for a little while in college because he went away to college. And so I was driving that 88. And then I got a brand new 94 in 1994. And that one burned in a freak accident. It was parked next to this huge house that I used to live in that was it was this old boarding house called The Establishment. That was a really old hotel that used to be downtown in San Luis Obispo, and they moved the building, I don't know what year, but they moved it near the train station in San Luis Obispo. Mm-hmm. And rumor, the legend had it that Jack Kerouac had stayed there because it was near the train station, and had gone through many phases of being a flop house, maybe a house of ill repute at one point. I think back to I want to say that it was built in the early 1900s, maybe. And and I think it had 18 or 19 rooms, and it was cheap to live there, and there was a chore wheel. It wasn't a commune, but it was like professional people lived there that were single. It was a place for kind of unconventional people to live. It was called The Establishment. And my truck was parked on the street in front of the apartment next door to the establishment, and someone was barbecuing on their balcony, and they used a can of gasoline to light their barbecue, and the flame went, it kind of exploded or turned into a fireball, and they threw it off their balcony, and it landed on the hood of my truck. And I was working at the record store at the time, and my friend was living in the establishment, as was I, and he called and told me that your truck is on fire. And he had a really dry sense of humor and a really dry delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sure, okay. He's like, you need to come home. Like, you need to, and I walked to work. You know, obviously I didn't drive there. My truck was at home, but, and then he called back 3 minutes later. He's like, I'm serious. The fire department's here. They need to talk to you. He's like, I rescued your surfboard. It was in the back. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's serious. The weirdest part is so that would have been the spring of 2000. In the fall of 1999, when I was living out of that truck, right before I moved into my truck to try and save rent and kind of go outside of the norm a little bit, I had made this drawing of my truck on tracing paper. I traced a photograph I'd taken of my truck in the snow, like in Oregon when we were doing our first tour, and I drew this figure standing on the hood of it, like protecting it, kind of. And I feel like there was something shooting a fireball at it too. And it was this really strange coincidence. Anyway, so that was the second Toyota truck. The third Toyota truck, oh shoot, well, that was the second white one. Then I bought this guy named Doobie's charcoal gray 86 that had all sorts of issues. And I hit a bear with it near Lake Shasta, California, and did all these other things. I lived out of that one for a while too. Traded it for a Volvo when I lived in Portland, Oregon, Volvo wagon that is in Wise Old Little Boy. It's like a light blue Volvo wagon. And then when I got back to California, I wanted another truck because I wanted to be able to sleep in it and go camping. And so I bought the third one, and then that one I cracked the head gasket during a particularly very irresponsible phase where I wasn't checking the oil very well. And that one had high mileage anyway when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
It used to belong to a firefighter. And then the current one, when the head gasket cracked on the third one, this current one I found on Facebook, and it was an 87 in like mint condition, and this would have been in 2012. And it was like $6,000, had 88,000 miles on it. And this guy's grandfather had passed away, and it had lived in this garage for years, like in San Diego or something.
Yeah.
And it was like, it looked like it was just off the production line, except for the fact that little by little, the hoses were actually that old too. So little by little components just started breaking down, and I had to dump some money into that one. But but that's my daily vehicle these days. Yeah.
That's awesome. He'll be very happy, my buddy Mackie, to hear that.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Oh cool.
Yeah, he's a big fan of those. Are they all manual transmissions, those old pickups? Or?
Mine, no, they go either way, but this is the first automatic I've had, and I was always manual, and I was a little like, oh, okay, I'll try it, and I love it. I don't mind not shifting all the time.
Yeah.
But this one actually is in the Buy Now video, and in that movie Hang Loose. Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's on memory.is, and have you seen the Buy Now video?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Buy Now video is made of like cutting room floor scraps from when I didn't make it. I just kind of acted in it. But my friend Patrick Bryce, who made this movie called The Overnight and Creep and Creep 2, he's like a friend and a movie maker. he and Sam Harcum wanted to make this movie based on this script that Sammy wrote, and had me play the lead character named Wade, and I used my own truck and my own clothes, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be, we shot it for like a week. It was supposed to be a full length, and then it got cut into a 10-minute short so it could be entered in festivals. But it's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to see that. I would like a full-length version already, I can tell you.
Oh, me too. I've been telling Sammy we should just make our own. Like, we should edit it together, because there were some good scenes. But the way it ended up is actually, it's the second best thing that could have happened, and it really moves, like, from beginning to end really well, and it's pretty funny.
Cool. Wow. I really feel good to see how well Sammy did with Crickets whenever it all got compiled into one book. I really liked his comic book a lot, and I thought it was cool that he kept it self-published the whole time, and that oversized format.
He's incredible and has been going for so long, and I love Sammy.
Yeah.
What's up, Sammy?
Special
I'm going
dude.
to tell him to listen to this. We love you.
Yes, we do. We love your
podcast.
Love your work. So,
and he actually wrote that movie based on stories that I told him about sleeping in my truck.
Wow, so this is a very Kyle movie.
Yeah.
My goodness. Why is it, why didn't I know about it?
I don't know. I didn't toot my horn too loud, which is kind of, for better or for worse, how I roll sometimes, because
I know what you mean.
I don't know. I feel like a little hesitant to promote myself, and I feel like it's just as fun if someone discovers it,
mm-hmm.
Or someone tells them about it, rather than it being shoved into someone's world, or I don't know why I'm like that, but that's probably the introspective part of me. But I really like making things, but my weakest link in the whole thing is telling people about the things that I've made, I would say.
Right. Well, we've talked before about, how it's more or less, when you make something, you're just sailing it out like a message in a bottle, and just see where it goes,
For sure, yeah.
So did you have a sound in mind when you decided to record this album?
I didn't, and the only approach that I was thinking, which I've done this approach before, but I was just thinking we would approach each song one by one,
mm-hmm.
and that a sound of the whole record would just develop by doing it that way. And it was a way to just focus on one song at a time. And I can't remember how many days we spent on it, but I think we maybe blocked out a week or 5 days or something like that. And our plan was to just go there, which was Dub Narcotic studio in Olympia, Washington. And Lee Baggett and I traveled from California to Washington by car, and we played shows on the way up, and then we stayed there for somewhere around a week and had all these new songs and recorded, and then we played some shows on the way back. It's all kind of foggy, but the plan was just to kind of record it all, and then I was going to come back and mix it at a different time, which is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you approached it with the idea that it didn't have to be represented live, right? Because you didn't know.
Yeah, sort of.
Did you still not know by then, or?
No, I had. It had been long enough that I knew, and I kind of got back into a flow of playing around in and around where I lived, kind of applying the same formula that I probably had been doing, but maybe what I learned in the Northwest was just play anywhere they'll have you. Like, don't be intimidated if a place is like a bakery.
Yeah.
Or like just try and keep playing. And so I think without the fatigue of playing every night, I almost got into a different mode where I was playing just one-off shows, which is kind of how all of us, I think, who play, if you begin playing in the hometown that you live in, you're only usually playing one night, which is pretty fun, I think.
Yeah.
Still, and so everything goes into that one show. So I think I'd come back out of my shell and was playing, one-off shows in California, or going and playing like 5 nights in California, or driving around, whatever. So I think I'd come back to live music, and so then I think the way the songs were written was in one way, and then by the time the songs had kind of all, come to life, then when recording them, I wasn't thinking these will never be played live. It was like, how do we record this song? How do we record that song?
Yeah.
And it was a rotating cast of people. So me and Lee were the constants, and then I think Jonna Bechtold from Yacht was there maybe for a night or two, as was Chris from Dub Narcotic. His last name is slipping right now. I think he played guitar, and he was usually a bass player.
Chris Sutton?
Say again?
Chris Sutton?
Chris Sutton, exactly.
Okay.
So I think he plays guitar on Sing Wide. I think he plays the guitar on that. And then my friend Zach Riles, who could play lap steel, came in for a day and played lap steel on the title track on the song Magic Wand. Maybe Tommy McDonald from Range of Light Wilderness might have played drums on that. Miggy Littleton from Ida was there for like a few hours just passing through, and he played live drums on the song So What, while I played live piano, and I think I sang it live too, if I remember correctly. And then and I played most of the bass on the record, mostly did bass overdubs, except for Laugh Now, I think, was a live band, and I believe I played bass and Lee played guitar. Maybe Adam Faulkner played guitar too, learned the progression. Yeah, super rotating cast of Phil. I can't remember if Phil Elverum played on the record or just helped record / he might have played like some percussion on the song Randomly, but I remember he was there. He and Genevieve, rest in peace, were there for like an afternoon or two, and yeah, he helped. I remember he set up some mics for, at least for the song Randomly. Oh, which Randomly was written in 2000.
Wow.
And and that had never been recorded. And I was on a trip with Lee and Greg Olin from the Graves, and our friend Heather Galbraith. That was my first time ever touring with Lee or Greg, and we were living in San Luis Obispo, and we went to Anacortes and back because the business up there that Brett Lunsfield, I'd sent them my CD and maybe sent them the first 2 CDs or something, and they were kind of our first listeners that we knew of outside of our hometown. And they were like, if you want to come play, we have a place called Magic City. And so it was kind of like, Lee, they said we can come play. It's only a 20-hour drive, like, kind of. And then I can't remember. I think we played in Seattle. We played a house show in Seattle. And did we play in Portland? Yeah. I can't remember where we would have played in Portland, Oregon on that trip. But, geez, those were dangerous tours too, because that was the second tour I did with 4 people in my Toyota truck.
Wow.
With 2 people laying in the back, like on a mattress.
Yeah.
And I just thank my lucky stars when I think about those times, because it was pre-cell phone. It was just kind of young and dumb in some way, but super fun. And shoestring budget, like what gas was like $1 then or something.
Mm-hmm.
And but super dangerous. Like, I can't even believe that we would be driving at night, or like, you know, driving at 1 a.m. Let's push all the way to Portland, and like in a tiny truck with a little camper shell and a mattress and some bags and some guitars or whatever.
Yes, the piss and vinegar of youth. It can get you through a lot of things.
Yep. Some of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that I've seen you say in an interview, you were doing a video in a friend's basement where he was interviewing you. He wrote a song called Sunburned Eyes, I think, that you did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Carlos Forster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
In that, you mentioned something about how anything can work for a second, you know. And I thought, man, I never really thought of that. It's so poignant. But you kind of trick yourself into thinking, you know, yeah, I could make this last forever when you're young, and
right.
You just think that you're immune to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny.
Yeah. And and now I'm occasionally slipping into that realization that you grew up hearing older people say, you will never realize how lucky you are right now, like when you're 17.
Yeah.
And now I'm guilty of saying that to people occasionally. But it's impossible to know when you're there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was thinking about that in 2004 when we made that album, we were kind of trailing behind some sort of vague countercultural feeling that wasn't like cosplay, reenactment, hippie stuff. It was way vaguer than that, but it was subtly rebellious, And sometimes I think I've talked to Mike Watt once before, and he said when punk started, there was no formula, there was no costume, that everyone was just uniquely doing it in their own way. And then it went over to England, and then once it came back, it was the spikes, the mohawks, the leather jackets. But he said in the early days of punk, it was like, I think his quote is like, punk was whatever we wanted it to be, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt like coming back to California, even though I had only moved away for a few years, I saw it through new eyes. And I think that's what Magic Wand was for me, was just kind of re-embracing where I was from and having a little bit of civic pride about California, like making a California record after I'd run from it and thought, no, somewhere else is going to work. It's got to work for music. And then finding the flaws in anywhere else that you try to escape to, and realizing that the flaws that you were very familiar with in the place that you're from are kind of maybe easier to deal with because they're not so surprising, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting to think of this as, you know, the Return to California record. Kind of puts a different angle on it for me. You can hear California in the record. I just didn't realize, you know, that you had been gone for that long. Let's see. So this was not your first project with Calvin, right? But probably the biggest project of Little Wings that he worked on.
Yeah, I think he recorded some of the Light Green Leaves. There was an LP version, which was just, I think, recorded one night with Phil, and then Phil got tired, and then Calvin came in. But I think I recorded for several hours and played everything on it. Maybe. I think. Maybe Phil played some drums. But that would have been that first time. I guess the first version of Look at What the Light Did Now I recorded with Calvin by myself at that one night. And I thought I was making Light Green Leaves, and I was like, let's make the new record tonight. Like, let's just make it. And I should say, there was this record that was a big deal to me and Bobby Birdman, who's Rob Keysweater, and he had found it in the used bin at Boo Boo Records in San Luis Obispo. And because we were into Drag City, and occasionally, especially maybe more back in those days, a label was a way to find other artists, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it still is for a lot of people, but back then it felt more so, to me at least.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a new, who's this? It's like it's on Thrill Jockey, or it's on, you know, it's on Sub Pop, or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an album by Liam Hayes, but he went under the name Plush, and there was an album called More You Becomes You.
Yeah.
And it was, you know that one?
Oh yes, it's very very unique album.
Yes.
It's all piano basically, with the exception of maybe a horn overdub at some point.
Yeah, and maybe a Mellotron or something that he does, or maybe I'm just thinking because he fixes Mellotrons. So, because I wrote him, like the summer that album struck us being Rob Keysweater had bought it, and then he shared it with me, and there's a mistake that he kept on the record where his voice cracks, and there's a few spontaneous things that happen, but it just sounds like a live performance with maybe he adds an additional vocal here or there.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're there with him. And I remember I wrote him, maybe he had a P.O. box in the CD, and I wrote to him telling him how much I loved the record. And then he actually wrote me back just this letter that was super short. He was like, living in Rhode Island this summer, repairing Mellotrons or something like that. Thanks, all the best, Liam. And then, anywho, that record stuck with me, and I was thinking maybe Light Green Leaves would be like that record, and then that it would just be recorded one special night in the fall, which I think it was like a really dark, maybe not raining, but just a dark, cold night in Olympia, like I want to say in like October or November. And I think I was up there to silk screen the Wonderoo. There were 300 copies, I think, of Wonderoo LPs. And I was screen printing them there at the studio. And I think that's what I went up there to do. And then I think I said, I have some new songs, do you want to record? And Phil was like, yeah, sure. And I think that's when Light Green Leaves, the LP, was made, was like when I was up there to do something else. Why am I saying this?
Well, because we were talking about the Plush record, The More You Becomes You. Guy in a room.
Oh, yeah, you were
intimate.
asking, is that... So then, yeah, so once... I think Phil was in Norway, and I'd recorded with Phil a bunch, and then it seemed like the concept of Magic Wand, I wanted it to be that the microphone was the magic wand, and I wanted them to, as much as possible, be first takes of songs, and I wanted to try to sing very purposefully so that I wasn't going to be doing any vocal overdubs. I wanted it to just be the one main vocal singing the songs, and that they would be kind of captured mostly live. And so I guess I felt like I think Calvin was like, yeah, I'll record it, and I felt like that was a good setup because we were coming in, and he knows or knew that studio so well that I felt like it would actually be really, we wouldn't overthink it, and we would just kind of move through it, and we did, and he recorded for days on end with us. And he told someone we broke a window. I don't remember that at all, but he said the party years, and at the time he said that, I was like, these are still the party years. What are you talking about? but he was he was very generous. Me and Rob Key Sweater, once he came in and we were recording, I guess we recorded part of Wonderoo there with Phil, but there's the David Bowie song about Andy Warhol, where it's like, Andy walking, Andy tired, Andy take a little snooze, and we just like would make up new words for it, but just put Calvin's name in front instead of Andy's, because Calvin, it was kind of like The Factory, because like Calvin would like stride in with like some journalist from New York or something, you know what I mean? It was like people were coming in to kind of investigate or do something, and it felt like we were in Andy Warhol's factory on a Saturday night, where he's like, what are you guys doing? This is Marianne, and like just kind of introducing these metropolitan types.
Yeah. So what kind of influence was Calvin on you during those K years? Was he like a stately older brother kind of thing, or more like a peer? Or
he was pretty intrepid and pretty fearless in a lot of ways, and would kind of make could bring some intensity kind of out of thin air, I guess. He was pretty mercurial too. He could be pretty intense, and then he could be like a different, like cool, like just kind of like, oh, he's in a mellow mood now, or whatever.
Yeah.
When I first met him, he felt a little intimidating to me. Not even just because of his reputation, but just because of the way he carried himself. He seemed like larger than life, and to the point of, I was like, oh, this guy's kind of scary. Like, I didn't totally know. So, but he rolled with a lot of different types of people. He doesn't, demand that you conform to his way, I would say. So he was kind of like a beatnik in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sure as heck, like, smoking tons of weed back in those days, and on tour with him, which he was not into for himself, and not into if I was going to be driving the van, which got a little tricky because I was like, are you kidding? Like, I do this and drive all the time. Like, what are you talking,
Yeah.
But I think I curbed it and was just kind of doing it before I would play, and not while driving. So, compromise.
Yeah. So more of a peer than probably, huh?
Probably, except he was kind of in charge too, or like it was his label. He was putting out the music, so I can definitely remember him being like, so you got a new record coming out, you're going to tour, you're going to do US tour? And like, I was like, yeah, like, kind of like, and I was pretty bad at US tours. Like, I did a few, but I'm still pretty bad at it.
Have you ever played St. Louis?
Have I ever played St. Louis? I don't know.
I feel
if
like
anything,
you haven't
since
I started listening to you, because I would have known.
Yeah, I can't remember if we played it on that trip. Gosh, I don't know if we went through Missouri. We went through Mississippi for sure. We played in New Orleans. We played in Tennessee once or twice. Gee whiz, that's a great question. We played Little Rock. Did we play Hendrix College, or maybe I played Hendrix College by myself in Arkansas? I don't know.
Yeah, what a shame.
Yeah, I know. If I could split myself in two, I would send one of myselves out on tour at all times.
Yes.
Because I really love playing music live. And then there's also this cutoff point where it changes, and and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I overdid it.
Yeah, I don't like playing live. I just last month played my first show in 13 years.
Uh-huh. How did it feel?
It was like the first time again. Nerves and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still always get nervous. And there's all these famous quotes, of like any famous actor you've ever heard of. Like, if you're not nervous, that's bad. Like, you don't care, kind of.
Yeah.
And I think for some people that never goes away. And I think there are like routines and stuff that you can do to channel the nervousness.
Yeah.
But I don't know that for some people, I don't know that ever goes away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really go away for me. I get, but you can also call it excited, or you can say anything you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
You can say anything
adrenaline,
you want.
whatever. Yeah.
And it's a surreal, unnatural state of being until you're actually up there doing it. If you get into the flow of it, it's an unnatural state to stand in front of a bunch of people who are facing one way and you're the only one facing towards them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like dictators, judges.
I never thought of it.
It's a lot of. It's like there was some. I forget if it was I think it was in the newspaper or something. And there's all the coins are shown, a quarter, a dime, blah, and then the penny, and then Lincoln is talking like, well, the economy's in the toilet. One of us is gonna have to go. Wait, why is everyone looking at me? 'Cause Lincoln's the only one looking to the left, and every other coin is looking to the right.
Wow. Yeah. So back to the album. It opens up with a completely acoustic song, and moreover, a song that never repeats and never has a musical break in it. It's just
Right.
words.
Yeah.
Was when you wrote that song, were you like thinking this is going to open a record?
I wasn't thinking about the order of that record, which was kind of part of the freedom too. I think the more I really remember, it's like magic wand, like the words magic wand almost meant autonomy, like a singularity. And I think the way I was approaching that song, I think that might have been the first one I wrote that I can remember in San Luis Obispo, and it was with, I think it was a little felt tip black marker, and I had like those thin felt tip markers that come with like every color.
Yeah.
Like in a little clear plastic pack, and I had typing paper or computer paper or whatever, and it was kind of, I was trying something new because I'd been writing in notebooks for years, and then I was thinking, I'll just write on pages that aren't bound, and then I'll make this little cardboard portfolio for them and carry my songs around in this thing. And I certainly got the name Magic Wand from my friend Luce Couperi at the time, and she was my girlfriend at the time too, and she was kind of the closest thing I've ever known to almost being like a fairy, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Like a human fairy, in that she was also always just slightly at a distance, and she couldn't be contained or sort of, and she was very whimsical and mystical herself, her spirit, and the way she was, just her personality. And I think I remember asking her one day, like she would always be doing a different thing every day, and it would be like, I'm going on a walk with so-and-so. I'm going on a hike with my friend so-and-so. And it would be of either sex, male or female, and half the time I would have never heard of this person and maybe never even met them, right?
Yeah.
So it for me, occasionally, it felt like a teeny bit scary.
Yeah.
And she knew a lot of like permaculture gardening, outdoor gardening people, I guess, that I probably never got all that close to. And so I remember asking her, like, what's that stick? It was a unique looking stick. And then she said, it's a magic wand. And kind of like with a mischievous smile. And I was like, really? Or no, it's not. Or I don't remember exactly what I said. But I think that stuck. And it was kind of a label for that phase of life for me. But that first song, I definitely remember writing that in her backyard, where I eventually ended up living in this tiny house with her and her roommate. And I remember feeling like the lyrics were about expansionism, and she had talked about expansionism. And she was not as wordsmithy as I was, but I felt like maybe I was putting words to her feelings about. She was very deep and very intentional, and she's like, I want a life that is expanding. And she would talk very slowly and meaningfully about this kind of spiritual state or these goals of how she wanted to be that felt like really new agey in quotes, but it felt super authentic, and it wasn't showy, and it wasn't for anyone else, you know?
Yeah.
And she was kind of trusting me with this share, or with this information. And I think it opened up something in me hearing someone talk like that. And I think that was a huge catalyst for certainly for that song. And then that song almost felt like something I'd never done before, because I had never not repeated in a way.
Yeah.
And maybe structurally that felt like expansion, you know? Like, if it doesn't ever retread the same anything, then it's just going on. And so it feels like a sampling of the feeling of infinity or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also did that with the song called Neptune's Next, in my opinion, but definitely in more of a hood rat 1940s kind of blacked out tooth vaudeville Skid Row bum way. But I learned something with that song, and I love when I get to do something like that, because you kind of don't know when the end is going to come either, because there's no landmarks, you know,
right.
Or no signposts. So, and then I love when songs like that end, and you're just like, like, you know, when someone else does it.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne or something.
That's a hell of a way to start an album.
Mm.
Really, especially, you
Appreciate
know, just the way that it ends with this, I am everybody, you know, I don't know. It really sets something in your mind, you know. It opens your mind up for whatever's going to come next. You can't even imagine at that point. So, yeah, it works perfectly.
I remember the first time I got to play it live was down in Goleta, which is near Santa Barbara in Southern California, and it was kind of on our route. There was this house called the Pink Mailbox, and I had already played, I think I'd already played there once or twice, and I went down there by myself, and some other people were on the bill. I can't remember. I think this guy TK and gosh, anywho, it was mostly people that were going to school there then, I felt like. And I remember I had a headlamp, and I had all my songs in that little cardboard portfolio that I had made, and I had an acoustic guitar and a gig bag, and I feel like it might have been Luce's guitar, and she had traded it with her brother what was it? Her brother gave it to her for some weed. She was from Wisconsin. She wasn't into weed or anything, but I just remember, I think it was like her brother's guitar that he had given her in exchange for some weed, and then she said, pulling tubes. And I was like, what's pulling tubes? She was like, bong rips. And I was like, oh, I've never heard that one. But I remember playing everybody out on this bluff overlooking the ocean on like a winter's night, but it wasn't too cold. It was just like the moon was up there somewhere, and everyone was sitting down, and I was sitting down, and I got to play that song for the first time, and it was kind of maybe the longest song I had at that point, and I think I was reading it off the page, and it felt like maybe Walt Whitman-ish, like I Sing the Body Electric or it felt new,
Yeah.
and it was exciting to share it.
Was this I assumed it was you playing piano on this record. Is that so, or?
Yeah, I think except for like when it's a solo voice sounding song,
Mm-hmm.
when it's mostly just singing and piano, it's me playing piano. And then I feel like there is a song called White Sky that might not be me on piano. And if it isn't me, it might be Phil. But on the full band songs, if a piano happens, I think it's not me.
Yeah.
That's not as much my forte. Piano solo I can do, and then playing piano in a band is a different
Yeah. So this was
skill.
the first time that you had recorded solo with piano for an album, right?
In a sense, yeah, I think so. Well,
I mean, there was piano in other recordings, but as in terms of just being a voice and a piano, was there others?
maybe on like Green Leaves, the vinyl version, there might have been dabbling in that direction, and there had been a piano at our house in Portland that I would write I was kind of writing some songs on, and actually, as a matter of fact, my dad had a piano at his house, and I wrote the song Magic Wand on the piano at his house when he and his wife went to do some errands, and they were living in Los Angeles at the time, and Lucia and I were visiting them, and they went away for a few hours, and I came up with the progression for Magic Wand and started writing it, and I think I wrote it maybe start to finish at their house. Well, they were gone, and they were kind of like, big deal, or whatever. I was like, I wrote a song. I think I was a little loud, maybe back in the day, about like 20 years ago, about like, I just wrote a new song.
Yeah.
Kind of, and they're like, great. And I was like, it just starts like this. I won't bore you with the whole thing. It comes from growing it up in a certain way, I think. But
yeah.
But also the house that we were living in, when I wrote So What, had a piano in it too. And I wrote that one morning. I think I just wrote the lyrics and then came up with that. It's pretty similar to Magic Wand, actually, like a 4-chord progression that just keeps repeating itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is probably true. Those solo piano songs were kind of a new look, and it felt cool. Just instead of solo acoustic singing,
Yeah. Well, it had I don't know. There's some sort of intimacy to a piano and a voice that you don't have with a guitar, and I think it's because generally when you record it, a piano is so full that you kind of have to bring the voice up a bit in the mix or something. But
It's something like that, and I agree.
it definitely, it kind of, yeah, it forces intimacy in a weird way.
And there's that Plush record again,
Yes, yeah.
which is soaring and boring.
I
It's just
feel
like
I'm ignoring.
the singing is so incredible on that record.
Oh, I know.
But
That's like a perfect Burt Bacharach love letter, that record, you know?
right, yep.
It's so good.
Oh, and So What, before I forget, was lifted from a chapter by the same name in an Alan Watts book called Cloud Hidden, Whereabouts Unknown. And there was a chapter that said, so what? Like, kind of like, once you realize this, then what? Like,
Yeah.
you know, he was always asking those kind of questions. And that struck me, like, so what? And I ran with it.
You got really free in your writing in that song.
Mm-hmm.
It was the whole album kind of has more of a free approach to the writing. It feels almost like controlled chaos in a way. It's
Yeah, I think it was everything. Maybe that first song with the no repetition maybe kind of opened up some valve where the net was so vast, or the spray of the glitter coming off of the wand was just ephemeral and everything, kind of.
Yeah.
So that it was like it could include anything. Because in the song So What, the one girl comes back from her trip and she got a tan and her friend says, so what? Or whatever. Like, that was new, too. And that almost feels like hip-hop or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or like very super contemporary, petty, popular kind of, yeah.
It's so good. I
think
really
you're right.
love that song. Did you were you playing
Thanks.
the piano on that one?
I was, yeah.
Oh,
that's the
great.
one that Miggy Littleton played drums on live. Miggy, who behind my back calls me Chicken Wings. I know because he's friends with Tara Jane O'Neill. And Calvin would come in to his record store, which I kind of sorted out is there anymore, but he had this super bare bones basement, like below ground level, below street level record store shop in New York City. I don't know exactly where, but I think I went there once, maybe with Calvin, maybe on tour, but it was just like bins and bins and bins of used records. I think mostly used records. And then Tara Jane O'Neill seemed to take some fiendish delight in letting me know at least 3 different times in my life that Miggy Littleton referred to me as Chicken Wings.
How strange.
Which you love to hear. The only other time, no, take that back. There's been lots of other times with whatever, but I was at this music festival called The Thing in the spring on the East Coast a few years ago, and Superwolves were there, and La Raji was there, and I was in this little backstage kitchen area, and La Raji, who I'd never met and never really knew of until that year, and I guess Will Oldham was a fan, and Will and his daughter would listen to Raji's like sunset meditations or something that he was doing on Instagram or something. Will's super, like, ridiculously diverse individual that just kind of gets into so many things, like including video games, I guess, apparently. Like, I guess he's really into video games, etc. So, very, very cultured person, and was asking Laraji about something, and Laraji was commenting on Will's new Crocs, which were this powder blue and pink, like, tropical print pattern, and Will told him I found them on Zappos.com, and then he asked Laraji if you've ever played in Kentucky before, and he was like, no, and wanted to know what's the main industry, what are the main crops, is it agriculture? And Will told him it used to be tobacco, and now it's a lot of soy. And as we're standing there, he said, so Kentucky Fried Little Wings. But then he told Peter, the drummer, that he really liked our set. I don't think he'd ever heard. I assume no one's ever heard of us, and no one's ever heard us until after we play, because it's better than erring on the side of megalomaniacal confidence, I think. Yeah. And 75% of the time I'm right anyway in thinking that. But we usually get decent results if we don't blow it with new audiences, where they're like, I really liked that, or whatever. But reports were positive from Laraji that he liked the Little Wings set at the thing in the spring, which I was glad.
Yeah, I only know of him from doing that one ambient record with Brian Eno.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, back in the 70s, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, that's legendary in itself. So.
Yeah, he's still going. He only wears the color orange.
Wow. Thank goodness for online shopping these days, huh?
I know, exactly. And I think that's what Will was like, so is brown okay? Or like he was looking at the color of his shoes and like saying, like, does that pass? Like, so that color of orange is okay, or something like that.
What else to talk about on this record? I don't want to make you go through song by song because it's so...
Oh, I actually realized maybe, well, I don't mind. It's kind of, I think Darkened Car, one trivia about Darkened Car is I originally recorded it in Union Station because my friend Kayvon was working at this Smithsonian booth in the train station where people could record their stories. They were trying to document people's stories. And I recorded a few songs. And I recorded an early version of Darkened Car. And I think it made Luce cry when I brought it back to her because she might have taken it personally. Or like she thought it was to her, like if in time we don't speak anymore.
Yeah. I'll give you a little trivia on that song.
Okay.
I contacted you to ask if I could name my band Darkened Car back in like 2005 or 2006. That was the first time I ever reached out to you.
That's cool. Did you name your band that?
No, you recommended, you said that I could, but you recommended that I come up with something on my own. And in the end, I just went by my own name for 3 albums. And then I didn't like that. I wanted something to hide behind so that I could feel free, more free, you know?
Right. I mean, that was cavalier advice from someone who accidentally named their band after a Jimi Hendrix song.
Yeah.
But
well, you know, if you can't come up with
emails are weird.
Yeah, if you can't come up with a more anomalous name than Little Wings, then don't bother. I think is kind of how I took it. You know, it's that name is an anomaly, right? I mean,
is it? I mean, it isn't
it is to me.
Older than us, though.
Right. Well, I think I mean it in the sense that with a guy named Kyle Field in a band called Little Wings, searching for
Oh, yeah.
you,
Yeah.
especially in the old days, before
Oh, yeah.
algorithms. Yeah, you were an anomaly.
I mean, you couldn't find it.
Yeah, you were.
I know.
You were in nooks and crannies of the internet
I
until
know.
the algorithms came
I,
along.
I really think that that really had a bigger effect on the beginning of my whole thing than I'll probably ever know. And likewise with my name and the fact that my dad's friends who were from Texas goaded him into, you've got to name him Kyle because of the football stadium. And I think at the last minute, they named me David Kyle Field because I think he thought it was too much almost.
Yeah.
But then they never called me David. They always called me Kyle.
Yeah, my first 3 albums under the name Nick Jones was impossible to find online.
Right.
There's a million Nick Joneses that play music, it turns out.
I believe it. There's a Kyle Fields that has a beard, maybe from Texas, and then there's a rapper from Oxnard or something that goes by Kyle. Because at one time I was like, should I just go by Kyle? Like kind of recently I was like, should I just change my name and just go by Kyle?
Yeah.
And then I was like, shoot, there's already a Kyle with like 1 million followers.
Wow.
And Nick Jones is close to Mick Jones.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, there was no way to win. No way to win.
Band names are depressing to think about the success of a band based on the name of the band.
Yeah.
But I think so many people don't like their own band name.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, when I chose my current band name, I thought of an interview with Wayne Coyne when they asked about the Flaming Lips. He said, well, we went with that name just always assuming we would change it.
Yeah.
And I realized it kind of, once you establish what it is that you're making, the name that goes on it will adopt, whatever you put into it, and it changes.
I agree. Yep. And I kind of felt like once I found, and I searched through fonts because kind of growing up in an era when maybe the font for the band, the Doors being the most kind of influential for me, like on the first album, that font that they had with the kind of the stencil sort of psychedelic stencil, whatever that is.
Right.
Maybe it's I don't know what era that font is from, but I felt like once I found the font that Little Wings that I've used more often than not, I liked the way it looked, like as a picture kind of, or the design elements or something. That's when it came together for me.
And bless your heart, you stuck with it. It finds its way onto records.
It's a lot easier because otherwise that'll appear on the flyer anyway. Like if I changed the name formerly, Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think about the Grateful Dead or something like that, who just named the band and then just made music.
Right. Yeah. It totally changes meaning based on what you do, and you might as well just get started and not worry about it. That's what I did.
Yeah. Yep.
So Uncle Kyle Says, that's like a huge song in your vast catalog. That one's a big standout. Were you called Uncle Kyle a lot before that? And is that how the song came about, or did you just envision yourself as an uncle?
It was self-applied. and I think it may have accidentally been borrowed from Shel Silverstein, because I think there is in one of his poems, I think he refers to himself as Uncle Shelby, and I didn't take it to mean that he was an actual uncle, but that he was like an uncle to all of everyone who was reading the books,
Yeah.
And I was doing it that way, like I was an uncle to the listener. So almost a slang. And I think in Hawaiian culture, even I've learned since that song, that uncle is like a slang for someone who's simply older than you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was also in that circuit that I was playing. I was 30, and I felt like I was playing to a lot of these all ages shows to people who were like somewhere between 16 and 22 or something.
Yeah.
So maybe it was slightly self-deprecating or something, or like I could give this humorous advice song. But I was not an uncle in reality at that point in my life.
Yeah. And Random Lee, I'm assuming Lee is Lee Baggett and that.
Yeah.
White Sky. Interesting song.
My friend Peaches, he let me know when that record came out that he would always skip White Sky.
Really?
Yeah.
I always found it to be one of the most idiosyncratic songs, vocally.
Yeah.
It's wonderfully strange, I think, and the chord changes, that chord progression that it switches to, is it's just money.
Thanks. I don't remember what the point of that song was, other than kind of a shrieking Fright Night sort of how weather can be a character in and of itself.
Yeah.
And how we can like personify weather, or it can set the tone or a mood. And maybe it was me singing about the Pacific Northwest in hindsight, perhaps. But it felt like a horror song, and it seemed like a good turn to have on that record that felt a little bit more major chords and soothing and uplifting.
Yeah.
It felt like maybe embracing that things fall apart too, or whatever. Which is also maybe what Hantuyo 3 says as well, even though there's kind of like some resolution at the end.
Yeah. Another song that debuted earlier, right? Is that on Harvest Joy?
I think Hantuyo 2 is on Harvest Joy.
Okay.
And that Hantuyo 3 was the sequel, or the third part. And I think Hantuyo, I kind of wrote this Hantuyo song 3 different times. And I think the first one was only on this 7-inch that was like a What Wonder 7-inch that came out around the time of Light Green Leaves. And Hantuyo is this fictitious novel about Native Americans that a friend's mother referenced, and I kind of didn't know that it was also the title of this book, but she would use that phrase "Hantuyo," like clear the way, like kind of like that it meant clear the way in some Native American dialect, and I always loved the sound of it.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly knowing the meaning of it was an easy thing to write about, I guess, like a motivational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The words are great. Hante
Thank you.
Yo. Yeah.
Or I didn't write those. I thought you meant the lyrics.
No,
Yeah,
the
I know,
lyrics
I
to
love
the song
those.
are great too. I think that is probably like the song that I would play someone off of the record if I was introducing them to Magic Wand for the first time. I would start with Hante Yo 3, I think.
Cool.
It's kind of the
like,
epitome of just a good vibes Little Wing song.
Yeah, it's like Carrie off of Joni Mitchell Blue or something. Maybe? Do you know that record?
I haven't listened to that one very much. I only listened really to Court and Spark was the only record that really got me by her.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Give Blue a try someday. It's pretty epic, especially. Yeah, I think Blue, that record might factor into Magic Wand too, because there's a lot of solo voice and piano songs on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember it being very stripped. I bought the record and listened to it a couple of times, but I found Court and Spark first, and
I get it.
I just kept listening to that record over and over again.
Sure, I think I found Blue first, and so Court and Spark took me longer to get into based on that, but then I got all in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done my part, so now you have to get into Blue.
Yes, I will. Yes.
It's a sad I mean, it's like a heartbreak record, or like, I guess a lot of hers are, but.
Yeah. Well, I love intimate records that feel like, you know, like it's a notch in someone's belt, you know, where it's like it captures this artist at a particular time, and it's just, I don't know, it's them boiled down to their essence, you know, that kind of thing. So I'll give it a shot based on that, because the other stuff that I listen to is very produced, like very produced.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I would be curious
Jocko
to.
on bass.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Christopher Walken in Wedding Crashers. She's not just another notch on the old belt. I'm not even wearing a belt.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much, Nick.
I want to know how this record looks to you after, I guess it's 21 years now. How do you feel about it?
It's fun to talk about, and I think maybe then the scary part about talking about the past is that maybe it was easier to make records back then because it was only the fifth record or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it can be a little it can maybe feel just the tiniest bit sad that you can't go back, you know, nothing gold can stay, and that perspective is maybe impossible to experience again.
Mm-hmm.
And but I also, thinking about that time and just those songs, I just think also about maybe how the world has changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
And that it was born at a time when the world was like that, where attention spans were different, and it felt, as an artist, it might have felt a little bit more hopeful that someone was going to really spend as much time with this as it took to make it.
Yeah.
And sometimes nowadays it can feel like that isn't as much the case anymore. But and I think the longer you go on in music, a paranoia can grow that maybe people aren't as interested in what you have to say because they've heard you so much, which is totally fair. But it was a special zenith of time for me, for sure, as far as feeling like there was an audience and the time was right and the time was ripe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a good feeling thinking about this record, and I'm proud of it still. I don't listen to it, but we play some of the songs still, and I'm glad that some people still enjoy it.
Yeah, I love it. My son has it on vinyl. He loves it. He got his copy when he was like 12 or something like that. And it's,
Far out.
yeah, you know, everyone has an album by an artist that they take to. And
For sure.
I'm sure it wasn't the first thing that I showed him because it's, you know, it's more of a solemn record, but it's the one that he took to as well. It's a great album. It's very unique.
I definitely have to remember that even I gravitate towards sometimes 1 to 3 records of an artist that might have 30 records.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's all I need, and that's fine. And I'm glad they're still going. And so I think it's important to remember that I'm guilty of the same things that affect me if someone has not kept up with the last 10 years of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine.
Well,
you know.
I'll tell you, I've been listening for, 21 years now. And I think I only checked out of Little Wings one time where I didn't have a cell phone anymore, didn't have the internet, did away with the car, moved out of state, you know, and just like I left as much of me behind when I
Yep.
moved as I could, you know. And
For sure.
and coming back those years later and having a few albums to catch up on was a joy. And
Oh, that's cool.
and you know, when someone listens to you for a long time, and you're one of the first of your kind to do this, where you put out these interesting little EPs that sometimes are more like field recordings and stuff like that, and you just give someone more than just this is what these songs sound like in a studio. You know, you take them along the creative journey. You've continued to do that, and as a result of that, someone like me, who this is the first time that we've ever actually spoke, I feel like we kind of grew up a little bit together, just listening to
Yeah.
your records. You know,
Yep.
I got to grow older and wiser as you did, and your records are like you checking back in. You know, and here's what I got to say about life these days, and
I really appreciate it.
that's a huge thing. You know, no one's really done that prior. I mean, you could get maybe. Yeah, you can't even really say that with Daniel Johnston because there was that really early burst of creative stuff that it went on all those tapes in a matter of less than 10 years. And then it was
Yeah.
like a typical, you know, album every 5 years or something. So you're the first of your kind, really.
I've never thought of that for sure. But I will say that I feel like something. I feel like something is missing sometimes when I follow a band or an artist, and if everything gets nicer and nicer and more perfect, and that's all they're letting out anymore.
Yeah.
I definitely miss behind the scenes feelings.
Yeah.
And it feels like that thing is becoming more and more of a brand, or more and more of something that's made to appeal to more and more people that are maybe less unique and less curious than the people that they were appealing to earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's a formula for widespread success or like super high peaks, but I kind of feel like it is a good recipe for longevity, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It creates an interesting path for someone to follow. I'll tell you that much. Imagine 100 years from now when we're dead and gone, and someone can follow you from your 20s, all the way up until whenever you stop making music, and can hear that growth, in such smaller increments than what people were used to leading up to that. It's going to be a joy.
I hope they can still find it. I hope there's something still for them to find. But
yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. But I think not being beholden to anyone too far outside of your bubble, as far as people getting to make decisions about the music for you,
mm-hmm.
which is what I assume that's what happens when people have to, I don't know, prove their music to someone else, or who's releasing it, or
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they get big enough to, outside parties get interested, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Captain of your own ship.
Right. Tiny ship. That's the truth.
Yes, but a prolific one. And thank you for doing it.
Hopefully it keeps going.
Thanks for doing all of it, man.
Yeah, thank you, Nick Jones. I really appreciate the interest.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing the show on the album, and hope to talk to you again sometime.
For sure.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Take care.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Okay, talk to you. Bye.
I'm just a free bird, totally free.
Cowboys of Kool Valley is a production for Pretend Tiger Quality Recordings and Ephemeral Goods.
My crew and leeward over the sea that's covered in concrete. Go to sea and see the wind and wave will be your haven till you find your tree. Oh, to be the one that you will bring back in your beak so tenderly. I'm just a free bird, tree bird, a free bird or tree bird. Ooh. Used to be a tree bird, a branch was my home, desireless to roam any way the wind blew, blood to my bone. So I say yes to go. To see the bell told me I ring it when I'm weary and the crystal sings. Oh, to be the nesting me. I'll put the babes to sleep eventually. I'm just a free bird, totally free and happy still to me. I'll become a tree bird. Someday you'll see me singing from my tree, me singing